along the way, these people have been so wonderful to me. And I have tried, in my own way, to help other people. And it's great fun to do it, believe me. And it's very rewarding when you see the climax. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. I love doing it.
At the very first Academy Awards, Janet Gaynor won the Best Actress Oscar for not one, but 3 performances in 7-7, Street Angel and Sunrise. This rule was changed the next year, and a performer could from now on win the acting Oscar for only 1 performance. However, there are cases when the overall body of work within a specific year is still in voters' minds when they fill out their ballots. For example, when Gloria Graham and Jo Van Fleet won their Oscars for Best Supporting Actress, it was generally acknowledged that this happened not only for their work in The Bad and the Beautiful and East of Eden respectively, but also for their vast variety of other performances in the same year. A serious performance in Looking for Mr. Goodbar showcased Diane Keaton's range and helped her to win an Oscar for her comedic work in Annie Hall. And appearing in essentially every movie in 1954 was also an important factor in pushing Grace Kelly over the finish line. But of course, things don't always work like this, especially because in the years of the studio system, it was quite normal for actors to appear in 3 or even more movies per year. Not only character actors, but also leading stars. Just look at what James Stewart did from 1938 to 1940.
Your days are numbered to the 7th son of the 7th son.
When you look at the Best Actress nominees from 1941, this becomes clear as well. Joan Fontaine actually only appeared in Suspicion this year, but her co-nominees all had multiple movie appearances. From Greer Garson's, Betty's and Olivia's 3 to Barbara Stanwyck's 4. The fact that Joan won obviously shows that it's not always about the body of work. And in the cases of Greer Garson, Olivia de Havilland and Bette Davis, it also didn't matter because it was agreed that they had only 1 Oscar vehicle in the race. Nobody thought that Betty would make it in for The Great Lie or Olivia for The Strawberry Blonde. But there was a different scenario for Barbara Stanwyck. Because in her case, critics not only praised her specific Oscar-nominated performance, but all others as well. Her appearances in Ball of Fire with Gary Cooper, The Lady Eve with Henry Fonda and Meet John Doe again with Gary Cooper were all met with overwhelming critical praise, and it was a sign that, after her first big break with Stella Dallas 4 years earlier, she had rightfully taken her place as one of Hollywood's most versatile and most popular leading ladies. Popular not only with audiences, but everyone who knew her.
Okay, what do you want, hip kid?
More!
There isn't a star in Hollywood who knows more laborers, assistant directors, sound and camera technicians than Barbara. And she knows them by name. Newspapers wrote that all of Hollywood studios are angling for her. She's offered everything from screwball comedy to poignant romance, stars like to play opposite her, and she can count the most solid citizens of screendom as her friends. It was Barbara Stanwyck's year, when she showed different sides of her persona, worked opposite some of the biggest male stars, and under the direction of some of Hollywood's most important directors. And everyone was happy about it.
Stanwyck is one of the few star actresses who was in control of her own life. She was not a studio creation. She made films at all the studios. And that was very, very rare. And in that journey, therefore, she picked material that was versatile.
Her natural acting style and her independence from a single studio allowed Barbara Stanwyck to constantly switch between different genres, equally at home in serious drama as in slapstick comedy. And Barbara's strong presence in 1941 led to speculations about an Oscar nomination, maybe the win itself, right away. But which movie would get Barbara into the Oscar race? Meet John Doe had the typical Frank Capra touch that had proven successful with the Academy before, and early reviews stated that her performance as the ambitious newspaper woman with a heart of gold is one that should pull down an Oscar for her trophy case. However, her comedic work in Ball of Fire and The Lady Eve showed the versatility of Barbara Stanwyck best and was therefore considered a likelier choice in the Oscar race. From today's point of view, Barbara Stanwyck's work in The Lady Eve is often not only hailed as one of her greatest performances, but as one of the greatest comedic performances, full stop. And prior to the nominations, The Lady Eve was indeed considered a possible winner for her. But when nominations were announced, it was Ball of Fire that brought Barbara the second Oscar nomination of her career. Out of her 3 potential Oscar movies, it was the one most liked by the Academy, but none of them received any major Oscar love. It is easy to imagine that she got quite a lot of votes for all her performances, but in the end, Ball of Fire just outnumbered the others. Ball of Fire also had the latest release date of her 1941 movies, so it was the performance most fresh in Academy members' minds. And another story that brought special attention to her work and her movie was when dancer Betty Rowland, also known as the Red Hot Ball of Fire, sued producer Sam Goldwyn because Sugar Puss O'Shea in the movie did not take her clothes off. As Betty said, if this Miss Stanwyck is a ball of fire, they're going to say they don't want any ball of fire. And where does that leave me?
You know, I had this happen one night in the middle of my act. I couldn't get a thing off.
But Betty was about the only one who had problems with Ball of Fire. The film was praised by critics as a highly entertaining farce, utterly improbable as anything that could be dreamed up in Hollywood and twice as enjoyable. And of course, the teaming of Gary Cooper and Barbara Stanwyck was universally praised as well, and both were applauded for being funny, highly entertaining and turning in flawless performances. Barbara was actually not the first choice for the part and only got it after Ginger Rogers had turned it down as she considered the role too common. Barbara's attitude? I love playing those common broads. And so reviewers applauded her for her brash and noisy performance, with control and timing behind it, the signature of an experienced player who knows when not to dig for a laugh. So an actress very popular within the entire Hollywood community, with various big hits in one year, showcasing her range to lots of critical acclaim. But no Oscar in the end. Of course, it's hard to say why, and I will get into the dynamics of the Oscar race at a later point in this video. So for now, let's simply take a look at her nominated performance in Ball of Fire and see if it is Oscar-worthy on its own.
Okay, Tootsie Bell, what do you say?
And to answer this question right away, yes. Barbara Stanwyck is an absolute delight and a comedic force of nature in Ball of Fire, while also creating a believable character with more depth than you might have expected.
Bum, bum, bum. That's right, hit it!
Hit what? That's what I told you!
3,
When it comes to actresses who are well suited to both comedy and drama, we often tend to remember the drama part more strongly, but it's truly commendable how effortlessly Barbara Stanwyck could adapt her talents to any genre.
Well, that was Professor Audley.
Any more of them around?
I hope not.
Say, who decorated this place? The mug that shot Lincoln? Oh, Greek philosophy. I've got a set like this with a radio inside.
Are you sure you don't want your coat?
No, I'm fine. Except I've got a run in the stocking. Well, how do we start, Professor? You see, this is the first time anybody moved in on my brain.
The most wonderful thing about Barbara Stanwyck's performance is her work with the dialogue. I'm sure parts of it must already have been dated the moment Ball of Fire premiered, but she delivers her lines without breaking a sweat, never highlighting them but making them a part of her character. She is in many ways the most straight person in the story, bouncing off the more wacky comedy by her co-stars in a straightforward, but also constantly engaging and charming way that always keeps her from being overshadowed.
Do you know anything about zippers? Do you? Do you?
Well, I...
do you?
Do I? No, I don't. But Professor Gurka...
Okay.
Well, it's purely mechanical. Look, you were mad. No, I'm just a botanist.
Look, kids, after all, you know, this is only a zipper. Come on, Gurky.
And despite her deceit at the center of the storyline, there is an undeniable honesty in her.
Hello, kids.
Barbara never exaggerates Sugar Puss' attempts to get into the house of Gary Cooper's Professor Bertram and his colleagues. She simply uses her undeniable charisma and natural charm in good spirit, never putting on a fake facade for the sake of getting what she wants, but simply using a more practical take on life that makes her a natural counterpart to her male co-stars.
With the streets cold and the subway hot and full of germs.
Oh, I'm a pushover for streptococcus. Can I have this now, kid?
Barbara Stanwyck also has wonderful chemistry with Gary Cooper, and even though I mostly don't care for his work, I agree with critics back then that he also displays a wonderful talent for comedy and becomes the perfect screen partner for her.
This is research, isn't it?
Yes.
Certainly. Who was that guy learned so much from watching an apple drop?
Isaac Newton, 1642 to 1727. The law of gravity.
Yeah, that's him. And I want you to look at me as another apple, Professor Potts. Just another apple.
And again, Barbara Stanwyck never gives the impression that Sugar Puss wants to lead him on purposely, but is herself unsure how to handle his feelings and never intends to hurt him in any way. Obviously, everybody in the audience knows that these two will come together in the end, but Barbara Stanwyck makes this process and outcome believable and entertaining.
Why do you suppose I came here in the first place?
Well, to help with the research.
I did not. I came on account of you.
Me?
And not on account of you needed some slang. On account of because I wanted to see you again.
Miss O'Shea, the construction on account of because outrages every grammatical law.
So what? I came on account of because I couldn't stop thinking about you after you left my dressing room.
And she also has her most beautiful moment opposite Gary Cooper, when she shows that Sugar Puss does not truly understand what Bertram is saying, but the meaning behind it very clearly.
Richard Ill. Who's Richard Ill?
Richard III. Act 1, Scene 2, line 204. There wasn't room for all the words.
What words?
Well, they go like this. Quote, "Look how this ring encompasseth thy finger. Even so thy breast encloseth my poor heart. Wear both of them, for both of them are thine."
Unquote, I suppose.
The part of Sugar Puss is certainly not very complex or multidimensional, and especially the second half of Ball of Fire lets Barbara Stanwyck down many times, as she becomes reduced to a love object that is to be rescued, and she is not as present anymore as she was during the first half of the story. But her aforementioned straightforwardness still gives more layers to Sugar Puss than in the script, making her dramatic moments just as touching as her comedic moments entertaining.
Here are all my excuses.
The handwriting of a... What would be your word for it?
A tramp.
I don't want to comment here if Barbara Stanwyck was nominated for the right role that year. Her nomination did come for Ball of Fire and we cannot change that. And even if there might have been what is now considered superior work by her in the same year, her performance as Sugar Puss O'Shea firmly and proudly stands as a wonderful, human, funny and captivating piece of work that is undoubtedly deserving of Oscar consideration on its own. And now let's move on to nominee number 2.